Happy Friday, everybody! Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday! This is the second to last Friday, or Friday, of the whole entire school year. We only have one more week after this. I cannot wait to see all the progress you've learned this whole entire year. I know that since we've been in e-learning, you guys all have been working so hard. And I know it all is going to pay off when we get a step test due next week. I want us to now get started on our very last day studying Cinderella, one of my favorite stories ever. Today I have a really funny story lined up for you. And I think you're going to think it's so goofy and different compared to all the other ones we've read. I know yesterday's story was way different. Today's story is not that far off, but it's told by a different person. And I think you're going to like hearing it from a different person's point of view. So let's get started, scholars. Let's go over our characteristics of a fairy tale real quickly. You ready? They begin with once upon a time. They have good and evil characters. They have a happy ending, like they all lived happily ever after. They have the rule of three. And lastly, there's a problem that needs to be solved. So they have to figure out how to solve their problem and find that solution so they can have that happy ending at the end. Let's go do our fairy tale chant real quickly, and then we'll get started on the last story of our Cinderella week. Let's go. Fairy tale chant, get ready, go. Fairy tales are stories that start with once upon a time and have good and evil characters and have a happy ending. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to look at the feeling word that we're going to see in today's story. The feeling word is annoyed. What does it mean to be annoyed? Have you ever been annoyed before? Yeah. In the picture, there's a boy. He kind of looks a little angry. And it looks like it's raining and his clothes are now wet. Maybe he didn't know it was going to rain and he didn't bring his umbrella. So it says when someone or something is bothering you. I can see that the rain soaking his clothes and his hair is bothering him. He looks angry and frustrated and, more importantly, annoyed that he is getting rained on and he's getting soaking wet. So it's really bothering him that he's soaking wet right now in the rain, which I probably would be too. I don't like being caught in the rain without my umbrella. I have it in a sentence as well. My dad was annoyed when I did not wash the dishes after he asked me to do them. He said, "Miss Castle, may you please wash the dishes?" And I just stayed on the couch watching TV. I didn't listen. He asked again, can you please go wash the dishes? And I again didn't listen. I was enjoying my show. Then he started to get real annoyed. And why do you think he got annoyed? Because something was bothering him. I didn't do what I was asked to do. I was asked to wash the dishes and I ignored him, and it made him get very annoyed because he asked me to do something and then I didn't. So it bothered him that I refused to follow his directions. Which, remember, if you were asked to do something, do it the first time. Don't annoy people. Do it the first time. In our story, one of our characters today is going to feel very annoyed. Let's see what our story is today. The story is, seriously, Cinderella is so annoying. A story of Cinderella as told by the wicked stepmother. So Cinderella is not the main character in the story. It's the stepmother. The stepmother is going to be telling the story from her point of view. So how she saw everything is going to be today's story. It's a fun version of Cinderella, and I think you're going to absolutely love it. So in today's story, I want you to do 3 things. First, compare and contrast. How is this similar and different from the original Cinderella story we read on Tuesday? So how is it the same and how is it different? Because having someone from a different point of view tell the story really lets us see that there's a lot of differences in these people's ideas of what happened in the story. Next, why is the stepmother so annoyed? What makes her so annoyed? What is it? Lastly, what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story? I cannot wait to hear your responses once we finish this story. Go enjoy the last story of the week on Cinderella. Seriously, Cinderella is so annoying. A story of Cinderella as told by the Wicked Stepmother. Written by Trisha Speed Skaskin. You must have heard of me, the Wicked Stepmother. Not true. It's just another one of Cinderella's wild stories. Not as wild as the one about the pumpkin and the fairy godmother. The real story, the true story, began with some chatter and some dust. All I ever wanted was a husband in a mansion. Before I married Cindy's father, my two darlings and I met Cindy only a few times. The girl had seemed normal then. After I married Cindy's father, my darlings and I moved in. Then I had just one foot on the front step. My dear husband kissed me goodbye and said, "I'm off on business." "He leaves often," said Cindy, "but the animals stay put and they talk, they joke, they sing, they even help out, especially the bluebirds." Now, I don't mind a story, but I like facts, not fiction. Soon the girl was talking all kinds of hokey pokey. "Once upon a time," Cindy said, "one of the bluebirds became blue. Not the color, the feeling. His friend had flown south. My darlings and I stuck near the door. I just wanted to put away my bags, and that's when I saw it. Dust." "Dear, is the whole house this dusty?" I asked. "I don't know," Cindy said. "I'll give you a tour." In the dining room, Cindy told stories. In the study, Cindy told stories. Non-stop. "Girls," I said, "time to get to work. This place needs a good cleaning." "Once upon a time when I was cleaning," Cindy started. Oh, boy. Cindy mopped the floor, but she finished so fast. My darlings had barely started. "Do you know robins and sparrows are my friends?" she said. "But the sparrows don't like the robins. Silly creatures. Once upon a time, one of the robins—" "Cindy, dear," I said, "why don't you go and wash the clothes now, But Cindy washed them so fast. How on earth did she do it? I had to find another chore for her, just to keep her busy. "If there's one thing squirrels love, it's washing clothes," Cindy said. "The rats, though, would rather iron, you know. One day Squirrels and rats doing laundry? Quit telling such foolish stories," I said. Time passed, but nothing changed. In the garden, Cindy told stories. In the kitchen, Cindy told stories. At dinner, I couldn't hear myself think. "Dear, please," I said, "stop talking." But Cindy didn't stop. Scholars, why is the stepmother so annoyed? What text evidence do you have? One day, a letter arrived. It was an invitation to the king's ball. The prince would surely fall in love with one of my darlings. Then they would marry, live in the beautiful castle, and one day be king and queen of all the land. "Oh, stepmother, I have to go too," said Cindy. "Once upon a time, a girl and a prince." And then, just like that, Cindy lost her voice. Imagine, it had to be from all that storytelling. Well, what could I do? I told Cindy she had to stay home for her health. She cried, of course, but a ball was no place for a sick girl. She needed rest. Sometimes it was so hard being a stepmother. At the ball, my darlings twirled. They whirled. But then some strange girl waltzed in. Her gown was magnificent. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I wondered how much it cost, and if my seamstress could copy it for me. The prince and the girl danced and pranced. My poor darlings were left princeless. A few days later, the prince made an announcement. A glass slipper had been left at the castle. The prince would marry the girl whose foot it fit. Our big chance! After visiting every other mansion in the neighborhood, the prince's valet arrived at our door. Me, said one of my darlings. "No, me, said the other. "One at a time," said the valet. Each girl tried, but the shoe didn't fit. Then Cindy pushed out a whisper. "Please, let me try." The shoe fit! Cindy pulled the match out of her pocket. "What?" my darlings cried. Cindy pulled out another whisper. She said something about a pumpkin coach and mice that turned into horses. She even added a fairy godmother. Please, no such thing. But I still don't know where she got those shoes. A few days later, the prince married Cindy. Poor man, he had no idea what he was getting himself into. But we lived happily ever after. Welcome back, everybody. Whoa, that story was so different. I really enjoyed hearing that story from a different point of view. Remember, that story was told by the stepmother's point of view. So how she saw the story. Not how Cinderella saw the story, but how she saw the story. And we were able to see that what the stepmother saw was way different than what we thought we knew in Cinderella's story. What are some of the things that the stepmother said about Cinderella? Yeah, she had a lot of things to say about Cinderella. She said that she was very, very annoying. So we already know that the stepmother is annoyed, which we'll get to that in a minute. She also said that Cinderella was kind of messy. The house was dirty. And we always know that all Cinderella did was wash and clean and do all the chores. But when the stepmother got there, the house was dirty. So we knew that she really didn't clean the house all that much. And then all she does is talk. All Cinderella does is talk, talk, talk. She goes, once upon a time. And she gets her princess voice on and she starts going and telling her story. She's like, oh, and then the bluebirds and then the robins, once upon a time. So she says all of these stories, and the stepmother's just like, oh, brother, another story? Ugh, another one? Does this girl ever stop talking? Yeah, and you're right. That feeling word is being annoyed. Cinderella was really, really bothering her. The stepmother was getting so bothered and annoyed by Cinderella. She was so happy when Cinderella lost her voice. Because Cinderella talked so much, she lost her voice. Yeah, and because she lost her voice, she wasn't able to go to the ball. Did you enjoy this story today? I knew it was a stretch doing something so different from Cinderella, but I thought it'd be funny to hear a different side of the story. Just like last week, we read my favorite book, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And we were able to see the wolf telling his story, or the wolf's point of view. So last week, I had you tell me if you believed the wolf's side of the story or the pig's side of the story. So this week, I want you doing something similar. I want you to think, do you believe the evil stepmother's story? That all Cinderella does is talk, 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 and sing and talk about all of her crazy animals? Or do you believe the story that we already know of Cinderella? That Cinderella was a beautiful princess and all she did was clean and everyone was evil to her. So I want you to think, which one's true? I want you to click the link below and fill out a couple questions. First, I want to know, do you believe the evil stepmother's story? Second, I want to see, what was your favorite Cinderella story for the week? I always like to see which one's your favorite. Have an amazing weekend, everybody, and I'll see everyone next week. Goodbye.